21-0 in this game, Tony, and they're making a comeback, driving down 14.
This is your chance right now. Mason Rudolph, you had an opportunity today, change the fortunes of your future. This is the drive. Go down there and make it a one-score game. Let's see what happens.
They got the ball at the Bills' 42-yard line. They run it with Warren. To about the 37. Pick up a 5. What's it going to take for the Steelers here?
Well, I think you saw it right there. They got to be able to run the football. I mean, when you're down 2 scores and you got a whole quarter left, like, you don't change anything. You don't try and hurry up. But I think this, they still fortunes are in your hands.
On 2nd and 5, here's Rudolph going to take off and pick up the first. Slides at the feet of A.J. Klein.
It's a great job by him sliding in the pocket and then getting out and getting the first down and protecting himself systematically. This is, remember what Pittsburgh is in one-score games.
9 times, 9-2 on the year.
That's how they win. It doesn't look great off a lot of the time, and all of a sudden they figure out a way to do what's needed. And Buffalo lost a bunch of early games when they had a one-score lead late in games.
Yeah, late in the year, though, they've been winning one-score games.
They've got that championship DNA. You can see that.
First down. And Rudolph completes it to Johnson. What a nice cut upfield. Another first down for the Steelers.
This is how you got to attack this Buffalo team. I talked about they don't give up a lot of throws downfield because they're protecting. You see the safeties deep. You can get them underneath. And then with players like Johnson and Pickens, you can all of a sudden get a 15-yard play pretty easily just by checking it down with their ability to burst and run after catch.
Well, one play you saw Rudolph see the middle of the field open, runs for the first down, then they throw it in the middle of the field. You got all backups in that linebacking core.
Yes.
Williams and Klein in for Bernard and Spector. And that's a 3-yard pickup by Harris. And for more on what's going on down there, here's Trace.
Jim, we've been talking about these Bills injuries. They're piling up. Teron Johnson, their cornerback, in the blue tent right now, being evaluated for a head injury. And on the Pittsburgh sideline, Joey Porter Jr., we saw him go into the locker room. Allen Robinson, their wide receiver, go into the locker room. Both are being evaluated for concussions, and their return is questionable.
Thank you, Trace. 2nd and 7.
I'm relying on this O-line. It is the best O-line they've had in a number of years around here.
Looking for Warren, instead going to the end zone. And only a couple of snowballs worth.
I was saying
no flag.
Some Bills fan did not want that to be a touchdown. That's not okay.
That's not okay. No.
This was very close to having an opportunity. There's your shot attempt that doesn't come very often. I thought they'd have to hit 1 or 2 plays.
Look how open Deontay was.
Yep, you saw him right down the seam. He
had Cam Lewis on him. Lewis, who has come in for Taron Johnson, as Tracy just reported. 3rd and 7. And Johnson makes a little move near the sticks. They're going to give him the first. He's got the first. And again, he's working on Cam Lewis, 39.
You're exactly right. And without having these guys inside, I would continue to do that right now, Jim. Use the run after catch ability. Most quarterbacks want to throw it past the sticks. You have these guys here as A.J. Klein runs past the play. With backups inside at the linebacker position, they'll take angles that aren't always as good as the others, and you can make people miss. This is a great drive right now for Pittsburgh, but they've got to finish it off. And if you're Buffalo, you do not, as a fan, you do not want this getting in the end zone and getting this close.
They've already converted on a 3rd and 4 and a 3rd and 7 to keep this drive going. It's over 5 minutes long as they go with Najee. And Najee runs into 3 Bills, including Settle.
Yeah, and Settle's actually had a very productive game today. He's been involved in a lot of disruptive situations that don't necessarily finish with the tackle, but He's been very disruptive out there today, and he was the one high-fiving the fans going around the stadium. He was ready to go. You can always tell in these conditions.
12th play of this drive. As Tomlin's rallying back the Steelers, trying to get within a score. Across the middle, they got a touchdown. They worked on Lewis again.
You called it.
Yep, and Austin has the score for the Steelers. What a drive.
It is, and Lewis playing the nickel corner position on this play, which means that he's playing in a linebacker type position. 1, 2, 3, but you're going to work right inside here. And he just floats back way too far, and Austin finds a soft spot and finishes a huge drive, making this a game for real now, Jim.
No kidding. Big PAT. Oswell hits it. That's a 6-minute drive, covering 75 yards. And Mason Rudolph and the Steelers have really bounced back from a bumpy beginning.
This is going to be an after the play penalty.
Alvin Austin celebrating that
I think this
touchdown catch.
This might be on Dan Moore. Didn't you see right afterward? It looked like he might have pushed a helmet of the Bills defender, the left tackle for the Steelers.
After the play was over, unnecessary roughness, number 65 of the kicking team. The extra point is good. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
Rudolph with 2 touchdown passes. Here's the penalty. Plays with a touchdown throw to Deontay Johnson. And here in the second half, they got a Boswell field goal, and now another Rudolph touchdown pass. The latest one to Austin. Off the short field. Isabella, that 15-yard penalty didn't cost him all that much. He only got it to the 31-yard line. By the way, again, Super Wildcard Weekend presented by Verizon concludes tonight on ESPN and ABC. Joe and Troy will have the Eagles and Bucks for you. Then this weekend, divisional playoffs presented by Intuit TurboTax kicks off on ESPN, ABC, and Fox. Sunday on NBC and CBS. We're going to have the 4th game of the weekend, 6:30 Eastern time, but our coverage begins Sunday at 6 Eastern with our buddies on the NFL Today. Suddenly, there is a lot of pressure inside this building. After a 21-0 lead, Allen going long, and they're going to draw an interference call. Miles Jack.
Well, he threw the ball away out of bounds, so there is an uncatchable aspect to this.
Kincaid was the target.
It's going to be very interesting what they call, because they're talking about it right now. He said it's, you could tell by one ref, he was saying it was definitely uncatchable. Gene?
Yeah, Tony, I think it's a great point. And look, the closest official who's talking, he's looking at the players. This is where you need help, like from the back judge in the deep middle of the field. Someone that sees where that ball fell. To me, I agree with you. He throws that almost over the bench. That feels uncatchable to me.
Boy, it has the potential to be about a 23-yard penalty. If they call it pass interference, not holding. And that's a difficult ball to catch right there.
You could have gotten that when you were younger. I mean, maybe
jumped up a little bit.
It's taken a long time.
Looking for a little assistance from New York, too.
100%.
Holding, number 16.
That's why it's a penalty.
5-yard penalty, automatic.
So it's a 5-yard penalty instead of a 23-yard pass interference call.
Well, you really couldn't call pass interference because balls in the air, it would say uncatchable at that moment, but that doesn't really completely change it. But I was just thinking about the play call, right? Coming right out, putting the game in Josh Allen's hands. I love it. It's great. Get back to the ground.
There they go with Cook. And Cook Spinning, picking up about 8.
This is why they can win the Super Bowl, though, Jim. Josh Allen's always had to come out and do it in years past, and he's done it so many times. But this year, watch this whole line just wash this thing down and displace this really great front that the Steelers have. But having someone else to take the pressure off and say, just give it to him, he can also do it. We don't just have to have Josh. It's a game changer for them.
2nd and 1. It's Cook again. Cook's got the first down. Cook now has 77 yards on 17 carries. Both of these teams made changes after the halfway point of the year at offensive coordinator, and everybody I loved here around here, the players I'm talking about, really appreciated and had a great friendship with Ken Dorsey. But Joe Brady's done a good job since he's come here.
And, you know, Ken did a great job, too, but it was just something needed to spark right there. And obviously someone's going to have to take the brunt when you're not winning as many games. But I think Joe has done an outstanding job. And he uses extra linemen as much as anybody, and they've used it on this drive, and that has helped a bunch.
And it's going to be a keep for Allen. And he's ridden down. Got a nice block from Ty Johnson. Walker was able to end it after 13 more. And Allen now has 72 yards on the ground.
Well, watch, they're going to wash this whole side down. And you can hand it or you can keep it, Josh. And this is where the Bills, in years past, Joe Brady continuing the trend. Good job making sure the ball was protected. But they ramp up Josh Allen's legs in the playoffs every year. Late in the year this year, they were in the playoffs. They did it again. Today, you see the same thing. Those are called design runs.
There's a pass to Diggs. With a block thrown over on that side by Sherfield. And most of the action that gone to Diggs today have been passes either at the line of scrimmage or even behind the line of scrimmage. That's his 7th reception.
Yes, and part of the reason why he hasn't taken off since Joe Brady got here is strictly because he has gotten the other team's best defender, always following him, and the quarterback knows they also put a safety over the top of him. And right now you see Mason Rudolph getting off to a rough start, really coming on late. Josh has played a great game, but these games come down to one score so many times. These are the drives that determine it, and he's great at it.
2nd and 5. Again, he's going to keep it, and he gets hit by Jack. Now, he was a runner.
That should be a penalty.
And there is a flag.
I don't think the defense committed until he was down, and that's why they're going to call it. Gene?
I totally agree with you, Tony. Josh Allen makes the slide. You can see he's well down, and now you make a defensive commitment, as you said, to make contact. That's roughing, in my opinion. That's a late hit.
It's Jack who got called for holding to begin this series.
Foul, number 16, defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
I really believe there's something to like how it looks sometimes too, Jim, you know, where it's like sometimes you get lucky and it's a glancing blow that doesn't really hit him, even though the intent might have been the same. And so if it ever gets to that point where you see it and it looks egregious in some capacity, that's going to be called.
We've been talking about the Bills' injuries at linebacker. The Steelers have had injuries in that position group all season themselves. And Jack's seeing a lot of time here tonight. Played sparingly during the year. Here's Cook with Golden on his back. Pick up a yard.
And look at how they've done in this drive. Obviously 2 big penalties, but to me, in years past, we'd say, all right, let's make sure we win, or it's a close game or something. Josh, we're going to throw the ball at least 2 out of every 3, plays to make sure that he has the ball in his hands. And in this drive, it's been the legs of him and Cook over and over again.
Buffalo's rushed for 155 yards. Precisely what they averaged the second half of the season that led the league in rushing. 2nd and 9. West the middle. Sherfield was knocked out. Shakir knocked down inside the 10. Oh, what an effort! The play of the night. Khalil Shakir broke away from, of all people, Mika Fitzpatrick.
I can't believe it. You said it too. I stopped looking. I turned back over to look over at the crowd. And all of a sudden you're like, and still going. What an individual effort.
The teammates appreciate the effort so much they're about to carry him off on their shoulders. This is remarkable.
This really is. And this is what happens when you run the ball.
And then after he was able to get away from Fitzpatrick, just look how close the knee was. It never did touch.
And he's got juice. Second fastest 40 time. Doesn't show it a ton, but he's been playing outstanding. He's come on the last month and a half. They found another guy to complement Diggs and Gabe Davis.
Pass. Extra point. Oh, somehow the wind pushed it back in play. That was a wobbler. But it was good.
All set up by running the football, getting an easy look. 5-man pressure to stop the run.
You're watching Super Bowl. 4 of those touchdowns. He's thrown for 3, ran for 1. You pointed out that Shakir's play came at such a crucial time that maybe nudges out the Josh Allen 52-yard run as the best play of the night.
I was thinking but that one right there might have actually got it because it was at such a huge moment in the game. So I'm going with your call. That was the tough one.
Steelers tackling tonight hasn't been their best. This weekend, college hoops on CBS begins Saturday at 12:30 Eastern inside college basketball. Then at San Diego State, Boise State. Sunday, a Big Ten battle. Michigan State and Maryland. It's coming up on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus. Well, the Steeler and Bills fans getting along. Good to see. This is the 4th time they've ever met in the playoffs. Other 3 times were all in the divisional round, and the winner went on to win the went on to play in the Super Bowl. Whereas the Bills trying to get their first ever Super Bowl championship, while the Steelers have 6 in their organization's history.
I'm so impressed by Josh Allen's play today. He has literally played exactly how you want. He's done the big splashy plays, but he's protected the ball. Almost no chances for an interception at any point.
Klein brings down Freiermuth. You got a lot of backups on that defense. Klein,
yep.
Elam, who hasn't played a lot this year, Lewis, Dorian Williams, and now Freiermuth, the latest to get nicked.
And that's big too, because you keep talking about it. Where you work is that middle of the field. You're able to move them off their spots, these linebackers. And
oh, timeout called by Pittsburgh. 5.5 to go.
That's a big one too when you're down 2 scores.
State Farm post-game show comes up right after we finish here with JB and all the gang. Latest NFL news, highlights from this game coming up on the State Farm post-game show. Well, Kansas City, Houston, and Baltimore all watching and wondering, what will it look like? If it's a Bills victory, the Chiefs come here. And that would send Houston to Baltimore. Kansas City and the Bills have had some epic matchups since Mahomes and Allen came into the league.
Yeah, to say the least.
Could be another one next week.
Mason Rudolph is trying to disrupt that, but he's going to have to do something special now.
3rd and 3. Got hit, somehow got the pass away. Nice tackle by Klein. How about Klein on the speedy Jalen Warren and wouldn't let him go.
Leonard Floyd putting the pressure on, but this is outstanding by Klein. It's supposed to be a pick. Everyone's supposed to go, and he comes all the way across underneath. And that could have been a huge play in man coverage.
4th down.
I think the game might come down to this. Chance, Pittsburgh. And Buffalo's done everything else right. No, they're going to take another timeout, or is Buffalo?
Bills.
You don't mind that sometimes when you feel like the game, it's like one of those plays, you want to see what they come out in. And if you don't like what you called based on the formation of what they're in, don't run it. Take the timeout. You're ahead by 2 scores.
Well, Mason Rudolph, his journey to the playoffs, it's remarkable. Perry was a third-round pick, but he spent a large part of his career being a third-string quarterback. And he was a free agent at the end of last year. The amount of attention given him was sparse. Lukewarm interest. He thought about going into real estate with his father down in Rock Hill, South Carolina. But here he is in the postseason with a play he must have. Freiermuth is back out there, 4th and 3.
And he has played actually very well after the very beginning of this game.
Throws incomplete. That was Jackson on the coverage of Pickens, and no flag.
I think Jackson got away with a little tug there. I think this one should have been called, actually. And Rudolph says the same thing to the ref as he's walking off. He threw a strike. But watch the right side of your screen. Jackson tugs him before then, I thought.
James, what did you see there?
You know what, guys? There is an arm around the waist, but it's got to be a significant turn before the ball gets there, in my opinion. He does have his arm around there, but I think the body's turned right when the ball gets there. I don't think it's big enough for pass interference, in my opinion.
So the Bills try to burn some clock, maybe even run it all the way to the end with 4:50 to go. And he'll pick up a couple yards with Johnson.
Well, like we talked about, watch right here. Jackson on Pickens. Right here, he grabs and he's holding his waist. And you pull him back. That's why I thought the penalty should have been called.
Yeah, usually you get that hand.
I know Gino didn't see that view.
Yeah, that's a new look at it. That usually that arm around the waist is going to get called.
Especially when it's a slant route, which determines everything. And I'd be upset if I was a Pittsburgh fan. But
2nd and 7. Johnson again gets around Peterson and has a first down.
And how about when the game got close, the Bills decided to use the legs of their team. Cook and Allen's legs on the last drive, and doing it again here. And this is why we talked about when we did Philly, Chiefs, and Buffalo was going against them. We said they can win the Super Bowl. We really thought they could make the playoffs. I know that it looked bleak back then, but when I said I think they could win the division still, 6 weeks ago, that was why. Because they can run the football, and they hadn't been able to do that in years past.
No gain for Johnson.
Hey, give us one more second.
And we got a timeout here.
And Buffalo is hardened now, Jim. They've been playing playoff games for a long stretch, which means they really know what, the sequence is to win these football games. And I think that is shown every time the game got closer, they would extend it back to 14 or 21, 14. They just keep doing it over and over again. They're poised, it feels like.
Yes.
More than years past.
It's interesting if it ends up being Kansas City here, and it certainly is
looking
highly trending in that direction. How many times you've seen these pivotal matchups at Arrowhead and GEHA Field?
I know where you're going.
Now to see the game up here.
I think what you're trying to say is in the Patrick Mahomes era.
There's Johnson racing to the 9-yard line and another first down.
I think as fans out there, you're about to see Patrick Mahomes go on the road next week for the first time ever.
Yep.
Since he's been in the National Football League. He's played at neutral sites, obviously, in the Super Bowl, but he's always had a home game. And now Buffalo has home field advantage over them, and he has to come here. And boy, what a matchup. That'll be as big a game as any game this football season.
By the way, the temperature is supposed to be around 20 at kickoff next Sunday. Of course, that's a long way
up.
up.
Warmer than.
With a low of 8 for Kansas City after this weekend. That's going to feel balmy. as Hayward wraps him up for a loss of a yard. You know, Sean McDermott, I mentioned it briefly. Jimmy Laycock, the coach at William and Mary, is so influential on so many different coaches, including the two head coaches here. And Sean was a walk-on, later earned a scholarship, played in the secondary for Coach Laycock at William and Mary. But he was the son of a coach. Dad, who we had a chance to meet the other night, it's Dad Rich, who was a career coach, both high school and college. And learned so much of his appreciation and love for the game and teaching. He was
He was wonderful to talk to, wasn't he?
Oh my gosh.
You could tell he was a coach and a teacher.
Second and goal, Johnson. As his dad said, talking about your players, they won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So
I've heard that one before, and it's so true. And that's what he tries to do with his team. And I'll tell you right now, the job he did, when everyone thought, we showed it, is 5% chance of getting, after the Eagles game, of them getting in the playoffs. And for them to put their head down and go to work and say, we can do this. And going into the last week before Jacksonville had lost, they had to win out to get in the playoffs. And who would have thought at that time you'd have had to win every game, basically. And boy, that takes a lot of mental fortitude, and he instilled that in his team, and he deserves a ton of kudos. He's an outstanding football coach, and the Buffalo Bills are lucky to have Sean McDermott.
It's third and goal.
Alert!
Johnson skips to the outside, and he is stopped right there.
You know, we could say the same about Mike Tomlin. I mean, he never has a losing season. That's impossible. Longest tenured coach in the NFL, Jim?
Yes, with the parting of the ways between Coach Belichick and New England this week, you're looking at the guy that now takes on for the first time that position of most tenured. And what he did with this team this year?
Oh, that's Coach of the Year level stuff in the toughest division in ball.
2 minutes to go in Orchard Park. And the Bills look like they're on their way to the divisional round, coming back here next Sunday against Kansas City. Sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Only pay for what you need. And by Subway. Subway's fresh sliced meats rise above the rest. Gonna have a field goal attempt coming out of the 2-minute warning. Bass with just a little chip shot, trying to put them up 3 scores. And the Steelers out of timeouts. Just 27 yards. Oh, my goodness. No good.
You just said off air a second ago that it's been a little shaky. You know, his last kick, we know the one that got blocked and then the one that he made, and right here, he had a little duck hook on that one. And I'll tell you,
looks like one of my tee shots right here.
I thought he had a little bit of that on the long one where it got blocked, where he hit it low and it was going to drive. But Jay said it sticks in your head when something like that happens.
Got the State Farm post-game show coming up. JB, Phil, Nathan Boomer, Coach Cowher. All the latest news and highlights from today's game coming up on the State Farm post-game show. You know, I saw them last week on the last NFL Today of the regular season make their Super Bowl picks. As that pass is complete, Coach Cowher picked up Buffalo and Detroit. Only one that picked Detroit. Love that pick.
Yeah, that was surprising because I was like, you know, this time of year, it still comes down to blocking and tackling. Big guys usually win.
Second and 5, they've got Harris ridden down by Poyer for first down and the clock running.
I was impressed with what Sean McVay did in their adjustments in the run game and some of the stuff.
But what Dan Campbell
did,
yes,
and turning that thing around is
amazing
for that city and for that organization. It all started with hiring Dan Campbell.
Yeah, and the trade they made, and for Jared Goff to be able to have that moment last night, I tell you, it was special. It was very special. Tonight on CBS, Night of Mysteries, 3 hours of the hit drama NCIS. 3 hours of it tonight on CBS. Second and 10 with 1:13 to go.
Bronco.
It's Von Miller coming after him. Almost got to him.